Good morning, friends. Today is Sunday, May 15th of 2022. I'm tired. Like I said last night, we had a long night, and it was awesome, but it was definitely, I'm tired, that's for sure. My voice is still a little hoarse, I don't know why. I did wake up feeling like I had a bit of a cold, so maybe that's why. But yeah, I'm going to finish picking up the house, since we have another housing matter to deal with today. Hopefully a good one though. So I will be keeping you guys posted throughout the day like always. I just spent the last 5 hours developing my game, and I am prepared to spend more. Probably not another 5 hours because it's 7 already, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. For the longest time, I've been trying to develop my game by making all the maps first, and that's been a hassle, so instead, I am just developing the game as it goes along. I develop the maps that need to be used in the scenes at the time, and then develop the scenes and everything, and then everything else. So I think it works out just fine. It's gonna be a fun game. I think it's gonna be really fun. It's evening time. You know what that means. It's time to begin night 4 of our nightly readings. So, since these kind of take a while, I'm just going to jump right on into this one. Let me adjust my posture for better breath control, and here we go. Chapter 3, Decision of the Bishop. Lucius followed Garin, Peter, and Anne up the staircase of the bell tower toward the sound of the hollering children at the top. I shouldn't have let them up there, Lucius sighed regretfully. I hope they didn't destroy the bell with their antics. Have a bit more faith in your mercenaries, Peter said as he led the way. They may be loud and obnoxious, but they're not stupid. I have no idea what the bishop was thinking. Lucius looked up at the top door as they ascended the stairs. You're all just children. You shouldn't have to take such responsibility. We do it voluntarily, Anne said. We're all orphans. If the bishop didn't have us do these jobs, we'd be out on the streets without food and water, and if we didn't die from starvation, we'd be jailed or killed for vagrancy. Lucius smiled and shook his head. Sometimes I feel you're all too sensible to be children, he said. The 4 of them remained silent for the rest of the climb, which wasn't long. They approached the arched doorway leading to the top of the tower and entered it, and to Lucius' surprise, the room was in perfect condition, despite there being about a dozen children between the ages of 7 and 14 running around, shouting and hollering. Lucius cleared his throat and stepped forward. Attention, children, he exclaimed. But it was to no avail. He cleared his throat more and spoke louder. Attention! Still, none of the children paid attention to him. I've got this, said Peter, gently pulling Lucius back. Peter put the tips of his index finger and thumb together and pierced them in his mouth, blowing an ear-shattering whistle through the gap between his fingers. All the children stopped what they were doing and turned towards Peter. All right, Peter said, crossing his arms. We have alerted Garin of the situation, and now let Sir Lucius speak. Thank you, Peter. Lucius smiled and stepped forward. Thanks to your efforts, the bishop was able to alert the Crownsguard and assure that they are watching the perimeter of Allore. With that being said, you may all return to the inn and await further instructions. At once, the children surrounding the well-polished bell of the Allorean church began to gather and head back down the tower, talking among one another. Many of them were yawning as they left the tower. Garin, Peter, Anne, and Lucius watched the crowd of children leave before beginning to talk. How long have they all been here? Garin asked. Since about 4 in the morning, Lucius answered. We called them over early so they could learn how to ring the bell. Once the last of the children made their way down the spiral staircase, Lucius led Garin, Peter, and Anne down the stairs as well. We also brought Peter and Anne here to see the princess and to discuss what to do next. We were going to bring you along with us, Peter said, but you weren't in the inn when we all woke up. Where were you, by the way? Lucius asked. Garin sighed and rolled his eyes. I already explained it, he said. I was on a walk this morning. I was feeling a little sick, so I wanted to get some fresh air. What, is that too much to ask? Chill out, Anne said. This isn't an interrogation. We were just worried about you, that's all. Especially after Lucius and the bishop spotted demons along with the princess. She probably brought the demons with her, Peter said. If we all die, I'm blaming it on her. Peter, Lucius sighed with exasperation. What? Peter said with a scoff. She's royalty. She's probably rich too. You know how I feel about the rich. I think we all feel the same about the rich, Lucius began. But that's no excuse to talk poorly of the princess. You don't even know her. The four of them left the tower, and Lucius was the one who took the lead. Morning properly made its way to the village of Allure. Despite the clouds covering the sky, the sun still shone brightly through the gaps in the clouds. The light illuminated the church and brought a much nicer atmosphere to the building. They stopped walking as Lucius grabbed the golden door handles leading to the chapel and pulled them open. The chapel was a large room with rows of wooden benches, all facing an altar draped with a red curtain. Behind the altar was a wooden cross with a purple sash around the top. The bishop stood at the front of the altar, looking at the cross. He turned around with a friendly smile, his old age showing through his wisdom-filled brown eyes. "Thank you for taking care of that," he said kindly. "We hear that bell enough throughout the day. I was getting tired of hearing it so frequently this morning." He chuckled to himself and gestured toward the wooden benches at the front of the chapel. "Please sit down and relax." The group followed the bishop's words and sat down to the benches close to where they stood. As they did, the bishop grabbed a tray containing cups of water from behind the altar and walked towards the group. "Feel free to take some water. It's easy to forget drinking water when everything is crazy." "It's easy to forget to drink water in general," Peter said, grabbing one of the cups from the tray. "Thank you." Everyone took the next few moments to take the bishop up on his offer and grabbed some water. As soon as Garin felt the water slide down his throat, he realized how truly thirsty he was, and he drank the entire cup in one go. "So, talk of plans," Anne said, sighing after having taken a large gulp of her water. "What is the plan?" "Did the king and queen respond to your letter?" Lucius asked. The bishop shook his head. "I sent that letter a day ago, Lucius," the bishop said. "We cannot assume that the courier can make it to the chapel and back within a single day, especially since the king or queen, depending on who gets the letter first, will have to write another letter in response to mine. But on the main topic," the bishop turned towards Garin, Peter, and Anne, "I wanted to talk to you three about this matter." "You want us on an escort job, right?" Anne asked. "To take the princess back to the capital safely?" The bishop chuckled and closed his eyes. "We mustn't be hasty about this," he said. "Perhaps we should talk to the princess herself when she wakes up, which shouldn't be long from now. We'll see what she would want, and then we can make our decision." "This would be the most important escort job you have ever done," Lucius said to the children. "If the princess is kidnapped or killed—" "We understand," Peter replied with an acknowledging nod. "So, once we hear back from the king and queen, we take up arms, ride a carriage, and protect Princess Lenora till we're at the capital? Seems simple enough."
Excuse me."
A different voice spoke from the entrance to the chapel. Everyone turned around and saw the lovely Princess Lenora standing there.
"If you wouldn't mind," Lenora began, "could you please fill me in as to where I am and what's going on?"
All right. And that there is Chapter 3, my friends. Tomorrow night, we will begin Chapter 4, The Princess Awakens. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you're enjoying the story so far, and we will definitely be continuing this nightly. In the meantime, I hope you had a day and that you get some rest. I will see you tomorrow.